Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to talk about OutSystems 11, which is a low-code development platform. We will talk about the benefits it offers for developers and also showcase its main features. But first, let's define what is low-code. Low-code is a development style where developers can develop the majority of their applications using visual tools and languages. A lot of things can be built using a what you see is what you get approach, where things are dragged and dropped as we build an application. Of course, low code does not mean no code, and sometimes the developers might have the need to use some traditional coding to enhance the applications they have built using low code tools. So, where does OutSystems 11 come into play? Well, as you can see on the screen, OutSystems, mainly OutSystems version 11, is a development platform that falls into this category of low-code developer tools, and it allows building web and mobile applications using a very powerful visual language. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate to you OutSystems 11 and its powerful capabilities. I'll first show you how you can get your own OutSystems 11 personal environment. Then I will show you how to connect to it and develop a very basic application. Without further ado, let's get started. In this video, I will show you how you can get a free OutSystems 11 personal environment so you can start developing low-code applications. In your browser, go to www.outsystems.com. On this page, you will need to click on the Start Free button you see on the top right. You are greeted with a wizard where you will have to provide some information like a valid email address, a first name and last name, and answer a few questions. After you have finished answering all the questions, you will need to click on Agree and Start Free button. In this section, I will show you how to connect your OutSystems 11 personal environment from OutSystems developer tool called Service Studio. First, you will need to log in with the credentials with which you registered in the first section. After you have logged in, you will land on this customer portal page. The first thing you will need to do is download the integrated development environment called Service Studio by clicking on the download button here. This will download an executable file locally on your PC, and installing it is pretty straightforward. I won't be doing this in this video because I already have Service Studio installed on my PC. The next thing you need to grab from here is the URL of your personal development environment that you can see in this card here. Go ahead and click on this copy link button to put the URL into your clipboard. Now let's switch to Service Studio. I have mine already started, and if you haven't done so already, just search for it from your Start menu if you're on Windows, or in Finder if you're on Mac, and launch it. The first thing we need to do is click on the Connect to Environment button. In the Environment Input field, paste the URL you copied to the clipboard from the customer portal, and click on Next. You will need to provide your username and password, and these are the same as the ones you registered with on the customer portal. And go ahead and click on Login. After successful authentication, you will find yourself inside Service Studio, ready to develop your first OutSystems 11 application. This is something we will tackle in the next section. In this section, we will see how to create an application in OutSystems 11 Integrated Development Environment, also known as Service Studio. Upon logging into Service Studio, you will land on this screen. This canvas area is where you will see all the OutSystems 11 applications you have developed or installed from the OutSystems Marketplace, also known as the Forge. Let's go ahead and create a new application in order for us to continue our Service Studio overview. We can create an empty application from scratch, or we can clone a sample application provided by OutSystems and customize it. In this overview, we will stick with creating an application from scratch. In the next step, we need to pick what type of application we are creating. Basically, in OutSystems 11, we can create web applications that run in a web browser, tablet applications that are well suited for the tablet form factor like the iPad, or phone applications that can run on smartphones like the iPhone or Android phones. For our demo, we will pick web application. Next, we need to name our application and pick a color that will serve as the primary color in our design. Finally, we click on Create App. So here we are inside the application and we can add modules to our application. I will simply click on Create Module. By the way, a module in OutSystems 11 is a grouping of visual code elements like data model tables, user interface screens, algorithmic logic, etc. This is the main canvas area where we will develop using a low-code style our application. We will do an extensive walkthrough of this canvas in the next sections. Following up from the previous section, let's do a quick tour of the developer experience in Service Studio. Generally, Service Studio has 4 main sections. The first is the central working area where you edit your low-code artifacts. For example, you visually edit a screen. This working area is contextual and its content changes depending on the low-code artifact you are working on. We'll see more details regarding this in a later section. The second is the leftmost toolbox area. Depending on the context you work on, you will see here a palette of things you can use. For example, in our current context, we have a toolbox that allows us to add user interface screens, user interface blocks, emails, links to external sites. Also, this depends on the context you are working on. On the far right, you have a set of tabs that help organize the low-code artifacts part of your module or your application. We have a tab for what we call user interface elements. We have one for logic elements, and we have one for data elements. We will cover all these in much more detail in a later section. The final section of the Service Studio interface is where you can see any errors or warnings or information messages Service Studio throws at you, and a section that helps you in debugging your web application. We'll stop here for this general overview, and I see you in the next section where we will start building a very simple but complete web application. In the next few sections, we are going to create a contacts management web application in our OutSystems 11 personal environment. In this first section, we will create the data model of our application. We continue from where we left off previously, where we have created a web application called Demo, having a single module also called Demo. Every application has an underlying data model that stores data in a way or another in a database. In OutSystems 11, we store data in entities, which are tables in a relational database. We are going to create one entity called Contact, which will contain information about people we have in our address book. First, Let's go to the Data tab in Service Studio and right-click on the database node. Let's choose Add Entity. Let's name our entity Contact. Now we need to add fields to our entity, or what we call attributes in OutSystems. And these attributes are, at the end of the day, columns in our database table. Let's first add a name to our contact. So I right-click and click on Add Entity Attribute. I'll call this one Name. I want the name attribute to be mandatory. So in the Properties panel down below, I can select the Is Mandatory attribute to be true. Let's also add an address to our contact. And let's make this address 250 characters long. Let's also add an email. So again, we repeat the same action. We add an entity attribute. We call it email. And you notice down below that OutSystems 11 is intelligent enough to recognize the data type as email and to set the length to 250 characters. Let's also add a phone field. And again, you notice that OutSystems in the Properties panel knew that this is a phone number data type. Okay, great. We have the basic structure of our data model in place. At this stage, it is recommended to publish our module by clicking on the big green button at the top. What the publish process does is to upload any changes we've made in Service Studio to our application to the platform server side, and those changes will be compiled and stored on the server side. Okay, our publishing has successfully finished and we are ready to move to the next steps. In the next section, we will create screens for our contact management application. We are now ready to add some user interface screens to our application. What we need are basically two screens. One to list all the contacts we have in the database, and another one to be able to add a new contact or edit an existing one. If I want to create a screen from scratch in OutSystems 11, I need to make sure that I am on the Interface tab, and then right-click on Main Flow and choose Add Screen. Alternatively, I can also click on the Screen widget in the toolbox on the left and drag and drop it on the main canvas area. I won't be doing this though in this demonstration because I want to show you a very neat trick that we can do in Service Studio to quickly create the two screens we want. This trick is called an accelerator, and we can benefit from it by following these steps. Return to the Data tab, click and hold the contact entity, and drag and drop it on the main canvas. We might need to wait a few seconds for this process to generate the screens for us. And voila! Service Studio has created for us two screens, one called Contacts and one called Contact Detail. Let's see what each screen looks like. I will double-click on the Contacts screen. And this first screen displays a list of contacts in the form of a table and also has a button to allow us to add a new contact. Let's return to the second screen and see what it does contain. This second screen allows us to create a new contact or edit the details of an existing one. Let's publish our code again to the platform server by clicking on the one-click Publish button at the top. And once this is done, we will be ready to test our application, which is something we will be doing in the next section. Now that we have finished developing our demo application, we are ready to test it. In order for us to test the application, we need to open it in our browser. To do so, we can simply click on this Open in a Browser blue button. And this will open the demo application login screen for us. I will log in with a demo user that is attached to this application. Let me log in with Andrea McKinsey. And once I log in, I am redirected to the main page of the demo application, which is the list of our contacts. As you can see here, I have already created one contact, but let me show you how we can add another one. I simply click on the Add Contact green button, and I am redirected to another screen called New Contact. Let's insert another contact here. And click on Save. I'm redirected back to the contacts list screen, and now you can see that I have two contacts in my database. And here we go. We have a fully working demonstration application that we have built in a few minutes. I hope this video has been useful to you and gave you a good introduction to OutSystems 11 and how you can leverage it in your context. If you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribing to my channel. See you later.